Congratulations, Necronomicast, on your 200th episode. I'm so excited to be a special guest on this episode. Thank you so much for all the support, from all the paranormal journeys I've been on, from Deathwalker, new series dropping now. And I just want to stop in really quick. You know, I've been locked up in haunted locations, traveling the country, and Deathwalker has taken me all over different places throughout the series that we've been filming. So I wanted to stop down really quick, say congratulations, awesome work, keep up the good work, and thank you so much for allowing me to be the 200th episode guest with you. Take care. Every second, someone is born into this world, and every second, someone dies. Is anybody joining us for the funeral? Journey into the unknown with me as I explore infamous locations around the world impacted by paranormal activity. While investigating haunted claims, I will push forward and use my years of experience to expand the definition of paranormal phenomena to reveal theories beyond the unknown.
I don't believe in ghosts. I never have.
And we can speculate all day long.
I'm shocked when you showed me that.
So I don't know how much of the haunting is created by us or the dead.
Psychic energy that we're releasing out.
When you are seeing a ghost, what you're really seeing is just someone in the past.
We dealing with something where it's energy from somebody passing away, and it's a tragic death.
From the haunted heartland in Omaha, Nebraska, my name is Brian Corey, and I am proud to present to you the 200th episode of the Necronomicast. My special guest for this late-night conversation is one of the world's most respected and recognized paranormal investigators on Earth, the one and only Nick Groff. From his start on Ghost Adventures and his continued success on television programs like Ghosts of Shepherdstown, Paranormal Lockdown, and now with Deathwalker, Nick has been bringing you the best paranormal content for decades. More importantly, tonight you're going to learn about him as a man and learn about his passions and what drives him in life. Nick Groff. He's my special guest for this late-night conversation on this 200th episode of the Necronomicast. And now, dear listeners, joining us for a late-night conversation from the Boston area, it's Nick Groff.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. You never know what conversations we'll get into in the paranormal or whatever this world holds.
Yeah, with these late night conversations, indeed. Now, I know usually when I bring somebody on the show, I always have them talk a little bit about themselves to get the listeners up to speed about who they are and why I wanted to have this conversation with them. But Nick Groff, everybody knows Nick Groff, one of the preeminent paranormal investigators. I mean, you've been in people's living rooms for like almost 20 years, man. When you look back on your career, I mean, do you think back like, man, I've been doing this for so long?
I did. The other day I actually did. I said, wow, it's been over a decade now or something. I don't know. It's crazy how time flies by. You don't really actually realize it until like the journey takes you to a threshold where you start thinking a little bit deeper into what you want to do next or what your goals are, the challenges, everything that you've been faced with in life. And I think that's the point I'm at right now. You know, it's just really exciting looking back because there's been a lot of like ups and then a lot of downs and then, you know, which you twists and turns and you just don't know which way life's going to pull you in. And I think that's the great part about living. I really didn't ever think that, you know, I would basically create something that would become a phenomenon on TV or anything like that. And then so on, it became a ripple effect into just, you know, different things that I did throughout my career. So it's really interesting. I'm excited though for the future of what I'm doing now. And I think that's the most exciting spot I'm in at this point because I 100% believe in what I'm doing.
One thing I really like about watching your career progress, like you said, you started off with Ghost Adventures and you started this kind of phenomenon. What was neat about that at the time, and we'll just talk about it for just a sec, because as a kid, I was always fascinated with the paranormal. And I kind of had like a punk rock mentality. I didn't like people telling me what I could watch or what I could read or what I could believe or what I could think about. And so I always kind of thought these weird late night topics, listening to Art Bell, watching In Search Of, Ripley's Believe It or Not, all these different unsolved mysteries. I was always drawn to them, and that led me down the road of reading books and exploring the paranormal that way. And then your guys' show brought a whole new dimension and really brought forth paranormal investigations into our living room. And being on the Travel Channel, you went to these wonderful locations. I have been following your career for like a long time and watching you progress as an investigator. And we are in strange times, my friend. It seems like there's almost like a reshifting of focus of the paranormal. UFO people weren't talking to Bigfoot people. Bigfoot people weren't really talking to ghost people. And now it seems like this shit's all connected in some strange, beautiful, weird way. And you're right there on top of it, watching all this happen and reporting it and investigating it and filming it with everything that you've got going now.
Yeah, I mean, it is strange how things are coming full circle, but I always feel like it's encompassed everything all the time. We just decided, and I think it was TV shows and stuff like that, decided to put things in a box. You know, like, here's the paranormal people that go hunting for ghosts over here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they dress in all black and that's who they are over there. You know, it's like little trends of genres. And then here's the cryptid people over here that runs around the woods. You know, with like Bobo and Cliff and all those guys, you know, they're all good friends of mine. And then you got the UFO people over here and you got MUFON and you got all this stuff kind of meshing together. But I think that it's all been a combination of everything in a melting pot all the time. We just decided at some point to alter it. But I think that's a part of life. That's a part of evolving as human beings. You know, we grow, we look at things, we want to dive into what is trendy. And I think, you know, looking at TV shows or whatever it is, movies, stuff like that, it does have an impact. Even music, you know, anything with the arts has an impact in a sense on people's perspective on things and perception on other things. So, you know, it can be a dangerous thing too at the same time with the media. So it's like, it's so fascinating to me just seeing how it is coming full circle, you know, like if you go back, I was that weird kid about age 12 or so, right? So even farther back, age 8, I fell from a tree, ripped open my arm, had a near-death experience. My mom saved my life. And I don't know if that put me on my quest. You know, I talk about it a lot through my journey, looking back on it now, because I had an experience based on what happened to me when I blacked out from, you know, going into shock from my arm bleeding out. But, you know, I don't know. It's so strange when you look at those things. But when I got to 13 years old, I was that weird kid trying to pull out a map and look for Area 51 on the map, you know, those fold out maps.
Sure, yeah.
Obviously it didn't exist. But I would tell my dad, I'm going to Area 51 someday. You know, I thought I was crazy. And I would sit there late at night listening to Art Bell on my boombox and stuff. But things have changed, you know, and I was lucky enough to get into it when, you know, the whole idea that I wanted to do was when I met the other two guys in Las Vegas, Nevada. I just graduated college and I said, do you guys want to go look for ghosts? That's how it started. I go, all my life I've been fascinated in the paranormal. And I took a spring break when I was in college and I went up to Virginia City, Nevada. I saw the Washoe Club and all these like interesting locations. I made it out to the town of Rachel, got as close as I could to Area 51 before you can't go any further, you know, past the border. Right. I've been all over, you know, Tonopah and Mizpah Hotel and Goldfield. So it was really fascinating to me, but I didn't have any of the equipment. I didn't understand it properly. I didn't even know like truly what an investigative personality you have to be or need to be to like dive into that subject matter. Or, you know, it was just a young kid that was fascinated. And I think that was the thrill of it all, not knowing like the exploration of what we're going into the unknown. I think that's what was really thrilling to me. And I'm kind of like an adrenaline junkie. So I'm like, look at these cool, creepy locations. I want to dive into them and I want to go there for the night. I want to see what happens. But I just want to go in there with like myself and somebody else. Just raw, what you see is what you get. Cameras, you know, no big camera crews, stuff like that. And that's kind of how it evolved. It was me calling the other two guys and saying, you guys want to go look for ghosts? And pretty much the rest is history. It was 3 dudes in the car that were young, kind of just ridiculously, you know, like, oh my gosh, and this and that, and like wild and energetic and filming everything with our handheld cameras, and it was the three of us raw. And I think that was the exciting part of it when I saw just a pile of mini DV tapes when I was done, filming all these like crazy adventures and putting it together. I don't know, it was so unique. The balance, the chemistry the three of us had at the time. I think back then it was great for the time. It was great with the chemistry. It was something raw. It was something genuinely legit. Like there it is. And I was lucky enough to be on that ride and see it just come to life and become whatever it became. And, it was wild. It was a great opportunity to go week after week to different locations all over the country, then, all over the some international. And then I had a great opportunity, like 10 years after that, to dive into another massive beast of a show called Paranormal Lockdown. Oh, yeah. and then the rest is history. It was crazy.
What's funny, when you mentioned Paranormal Lockdown, I just spent the weekend over at Malvern Manor.
Yeah.
And today is February, as we record this, it's February 10th, 2021. Well, the Malvern Manor episode, I just looked because I was reading about it. The Malvern Manor episode that you filmed came out. The original air date was February 10th, 2017. Yep. So like 4 years.
4 years later.
As the planet turns and revolves, the mysteries of the manor still present itself to people.
Yeah.
This field of the paranormal, whatever you think of when you think of paranormal, it's too enormous to define, I think. Mm-hmm. And I like your approach. You have a real open-minded approach, which I think is super healthy, and it'll feed curiosity, it'll feed a thirst for knowledge. Like there's no definitive statements about the paranormal. I tend to shy away from shows and people that are like, well, this is a ghost, this is a demon, this is a poltergeist, this is a blank, fill in the blanks. And I like the fact that when I watch your investigations and I caught things on Death Walker, your new show was on VidiSpace. I'm repping my VidiSpace right now.
Nice, man.
Yeah, right. I like these investigations where you're not afraid to ask these questions and kind of delve into things in more of a philosophical approach.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. I think that's growth though. Like going back when I started, I was young saying, come and get me ghosts on, crazy, get in the morgue slab, like do this crazy things, like go into caverns and mine shafts and whatever. But I think over time, you start to realize it becomes a lot redundant, a lot of pseudoscience, redundancies. You start talking to smarter people and they evolve your brain. You start having experiences that you fully didn't understand. Then you start questioning those experiences. Mm-hmm. And if you're logical, like I am, you start trying to wrap your head around why you were able to see. Like for me, why did I see a woman standing 2 feet in front of my face at a location wearing a hospital gown and, scared me in the dark? Just stuff like that, I think, opens you up to other possibilities beyond what we see in this 2D world, like what we're looking at right now and how we perceive things. I mean, it's kind of like space, right? Mm-hmm. There's like an infinity of stars that we know of. Where's the end? I mean, supposedly everything has to have an end of some sorts, right? But where is that? So it's the similar concept of, I guess, life, energy, what happens after you die, all the theories that people talk about, all the beliefs that people have, in the spiritualism and the hard facts and then the science and everything that kind of revolves around that. I think it's endless. And I think life sometimes isn't supposed to be meant to be all figured out. I think that's the journey, and the experience is the information, and the subconsciousness collects that with the energy and the electricity. And I think that's kind of what happens when it triggers this beyond phase out of this body. The body's going to die. Everyone passes away. I mean, every second we're passing away right now in reality.
Thanks, Nick.
It's a weird idea, but the strange part is like time is irrelevant too. Like we create time because we're human beings. We grow old and, that's what happens. Yeah. And I just think that we'd be naive to think that's it.
Well, from our perspective, like the earth is turning and that gives us, that shows us which direction time is going in. But time, and if I want to get super philosophical, I mean, time on different worlds, different dimensions, we have no real clear, and that's no clue. So I don't like those definitive statements. But as time marches on and we think about this phenomenon or these phenomenons, how much of this could be, and I don't mean to sound like interpreting people to be crazy, but how much of this is in our minds? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how much comes to us and visits us and is conjured with us in our minds? That's something that I've been thinking about lately.
A percentage of it is us. I think we go looking into locations and we're looking for things like, we'll go in. Some people, I've seen this, I've seen a lot of people go into haunted locations where they might, like Bobby Mackey's, for instance. I've seen people go in there and be like, I want to get scratched. I want this horrible thing to happen. It's the intent you're putting out there. And I believe that the energy that is there, the entity that has morphed into this like phenomenon now that's like almost like a topa, thought form energy.
Yeah.
I think it's manifesting and mirror imaging back your intent you're putting out. So if you want that to happen, it's going to, resonate that back to you in like this fivefold sense. So I think that we do put out a lot of that, those thoughts, that energy. And I think sometimes our perception is that's what we want. That's what we believe. Like, I strongly believe there is aliens on that planet. So if you true-heartedly believe that, that's a belief, right? So for you, that could be a real possibility. Just like I 100% believe in my brain, no one can take this away from me, that this is what I experienced. This is what I saw. This is what it is. I think that's the point I'm trying to make is, yes, a percentage of it is us that we're putting the energy back into the atmosphere that we live in. And I think that we're getting that back because we're creating that mindscape. We're creating that like, I don't know, that heaven or whatever it is. Not to say I don't believe, because I do believe in other possibilities. I believe in, alter realities. I definitely believe in different dimensions outside of ours. I know science has kind of broken that down too in an element of, X, Y, and Z. But I also believe that we do put out our own experiences. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's kind of like, I feel like I'm being, like if we're in a location and you and I are staying next to each other and I feel like something is pushing against me, something unexplainable, but you're not having anything happen. You're like, I don't feel anything, but the person next to you feels something, right? So is that their own experience they're having because their mind is so worked up on the hauntings, on the information, on the history, or is this really happening to them? And that's the thing is, like, they're their own individual and that's for them to figure out. You can't take that away from them because that's their experience. So it's either one or the other, I believe. It's either unexplainable, something's really happening from a different realm or energy or the atmosphere or something like that. Or they're having this experience where they really believe something is, doing that to them. So
that's why I think a lot of this investigation and this philosophical thinking is very important, because we are, in fact, trying to solve or decipher the most important question in human existence: what happens to us after we go away from here? Because time has been infinite before Nick and Brian showed up on this blue planet, and time will be infinite after you and I are putting it in the ground 100 years from now, God willing. Time was before, it's now, it's always shall be. So it's super fascinating. And I really like hearing people open up the box and take things out of it and look at them under a light and really try and investigate properly and at least think and ask questions, like a mental gymnastics, like, constructing ideas and thoughts. Well, 10 years ago, people just asked, well, do you believe in ghosts? And now I'm like, man, what the hell is a ghost?
What do we believe in anymore? I know it's a melting pot, man. It's like, here's the thing too, like talking about time and what is a ghost and whatnot. There is no hard concrete facts about what exactly is a ghost. We just define it as human beings because it's easy for us to understand when we talk about it to each other.
Right.
But I think ultimately when you start diving a little bit deeper and you think, all right, here's a theory, what happens if a ghost is just us or the past meshing with the future, meaning the reality of now. And we're just like experiencing this bleed through of people that are living right now in that time or that era or whatever it is at a location or a place. And we're experiencing that bleed through of that figure, that apparition. Or and they could be experiencing us too. I mean, maybe they see us, they think we're aliens, they think we're ghosts too. But it's one of those things that you just don't know. But you can't turn the switch off. You have to be open-minded to that. I definitely think today you have to be open-minded to all possibilities because nobody has the right answer. And if anyone's claiming they have the right answer, then they haven't lived a full life yet and they haven't gone beyond to actually find out what the answer is. Right? I mean, like that's the truth of it. I just think when we dive down the rabbit hole, you have to look at all theories, but you also have to go out and experience it because you can't sit back, write on a chalkboard and break down into a math problem and say, this is what a ghost is, or this is what a Bigfoot is, or a UFO or an alien, or, so on and so forth, whatever, direction you want to go in. I think you have to experience too. You have to go out to locations, you have to research, you have to investigate. It's not just about the science, it's about the experience foremost, I really believe, because the experience obviously evolves us as human beings and it teaches us lessons through our journey. And I think each lesson is a stepping stone to something new for us. And I really believe like that is the ultimate thing that we can take with us when we pass on is that information, and then you can conclude what you want when you pass on as that energetic form or whatever happens. I mean, I got friends in all areas. I have great friends that are skeptics, complete skeptics.
Oh, sure.
I have great friends that are like 100% believers in every single subject matter you could think of. And I got people like myself that are just open-minded and just like to talk about it and like to go out and experience it or have fun and live life and just enjoy the moment. So I like it all. I'm all of the categories. I'm not one specific thing. I think I'm just an investigator, a guy who likes the adrenaline rush of haunted locations or cool things or like fascinating subject matters or just deep conversations late at night where you can get into, just interesting topics where we can sit back and laugh about it afterwards. Because it's crazy what we're doing, to be honest.
I know. We're talking about ghosts and monsters and things like that, so there's elements of the absurd in there, but for thousands of years, human beings have all walks of life have experienced these things. And it's important, I think, to be well-rounded in your investigations and your research because, like now there's a lot of demonic talk and people will say, there's sights and sounds and there's physical things that accompany demonic activity. Well, in the 80s, there was a lot of those same things were poltergeist, investigated as poltergeist or surmised to be poltergeist. And before that, there was a lot of alien abduction stories that talked about strange lights and sounds and physical touching and things like that. So as we gather more information and as it filters through human beings and all of our shared experiences, wonderful things like being able to talk to you in Boston and I'm in Omaha, and we can have these conversations and people across the world can listen to these conversations and they can start thinking about these things and construct new ideas. It's just exciting with this technology that kind of goes hand in hand with these philosophical discussions. So.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And yeah, I mean, that's the important part, I think. Like we were talking about Deathwalker, the new series I have, it really that whole series, the season 1 dives into different theories and topics and taking 2 locations and collectively gathering evidence to see if the theory is actually a possibility. But realistically, the whole entire series is just about creating conversations amongst each other that is watching it, a part of it, or just going through life and just, passing by to see what Deathwalker is all about. And really that's what it is. It's I walk amongst the dead. I mean, we're kind of all doing that in a sense. And I think, when you watch something, you say, oh man, I didn't think about that. Oh, that could be actually a ghost. And then you start talking about with your friend or over like dinner or wine or whatever you're doing that night. And you start to realize like you go down that rabbit hole. That's really what Deathwalker was, a kickoff jumping point to just collectively as human beings, think a little bit harder on the subject matter and just dive a little bit deeper into it. And really it's just about my perspective on the journey that I'm going through on different locations and different people that I'm talking to and just conceptual ideas that we're conversating about. And I really love it. I mean, it's really a passion for me because it's only making me learn a lot more from where I started. And I feel like I've grown so much. I definitely have matured. I mean, I'm still that hyperactive, crazy kid, but I feel like the brain has evolved into being able to understand the topics better than when I first started, you know? But there's so much growth. Like, I don't think I could live 100 lives to learn everything, you know? So it's just one of those things. Just learn as much as you can, have balance in your life, be motivated, passion, you know, wake up every day, breathing, understanding like you're alive right now. Enjoy it. I think we also we forget to stop and just look around us and laugh about things for a second because life is short, man.
Yeah, I'm super glad you brought that up. And I'm super glad that you brought up Deathwalker. I want to talk to you about that. But before, and you touched on something just now when you were saying about these experiences and going out and then living life and seeing the beauty in life and everything. One of the questions I was going to ask you, and I was thinking a lot about this when I was watching shows like Paranormal Lockdown, like you spent so much of your existence for years spending the night 3 to 4 days in these hotels, but these abandoned buildings and scary places and spending the night and really investigating, looking for, you know, life after life and evidence of that stuff. How do you, like Nick Groff, paranormal investigator, how do you get a respite or a sabbatical? Like, how do you like recharge after that and really open the door and look at life? And do you go to a baseball game or do you, how do you get snap back into reality in air quotes?
Yeah. It's strange. So for about 5 years, I was doing Paranormal Lockdown. It was the hardest and most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, mentally and physically. 72 hours at a location where you're up out of the 68 hours, you're up straight, sleep deprived into the 72. So you're like consciously resting for like 2 hours and then REM sleep, I don't know, out of that. So it's a weird thing to go through. You know, the whole idea about Paranormal Lockdown was staying at locations longer to try to collect and document evidence that I could discover new possibilities within the paranormal. That's really what I wanted to do, is just discover something new. You know, like, oh, maybe this phenomena could be X, Y, and Z, and that's what it is. So we were just looking a little bit under the scope, setting up major experiments, trying new things, new techniques. And also being vulnerable. I think when you're sleeping, you're super vulnerable to paranormal phenomena and also the environments that you're living in. So that's kind of what Paranormal Lockdown turned into. When I leave a location, I typically come back and I shower about 8 times because I haven't had a shower in 3 days. I burn my clothes.
Yeah, I'd have some disposable clothes for sure.
Yeah. I go to the gym and I put my own music in and I leave reality. And for like that hour and a half, I am just like grinding at the gym and just, you have to have a balance in life, especially when you do this. Not everything has to be so serious and so doom and gloom and stuff. I think a lot of locations I go to are like that with horrific tragedies and stuff in a dark past. But you know, for me, it's just escaping and feeling healthy and fit. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you really can't take care of like what you're trying to do in life. And that's the truth. You know, when it's tough, right? Because when you sit at home and you watch just Paranormal Lockdown from the comfort of your house, you're like, oh, they're just there. But the thing is that people don't realize is when I did Paranormal Lockdown UK, right? Or even Paranormal Lockdown the US, I would fly to the location. So like, for instance, I would fly there to the United Kingdom from America on a Sunday, 7-hour or so flight overnight. It would be a red-eye flight. I'd get there in the morning, 5-hour time difference. I would literally drive another 4 hours from the airport to wherever the location is. We would sleep for, 5-6 hours. And then we'd roll right into the location right from the beginning on a Monday or Tuesday, whatever it would be. And then we would go like hard for like that whole day, interviews into the night, the whole night. Then about 24th hour or something, investigating, we'd sleep for like an hour in some crazy spot by myself. Everyone, Rob would leave, the camera operator, and it would just be, back then it was just Katrina and I, and she would go pick some spot, I would pick a spot. And then we do that for 3 days straight, right? And then the fourth day, we come back and we conclude everything, do a wraparound and regurgitate information. Then we'd go to the next location 4 hours away and then do the same thing again the next week. And then we'd fly back 7 hours back home. It was wild. Man, I felt like my body was disintegrating. I'm not even joking. I took some life off my body. It's like Super Mario Brother, you know? You can't
Right.
you can't get all the little secret things you need to like keep living and growing and whatever. I felt like I was going in reverse, like Curious Button, Benjamin or whatever his name was.
Oh yeah, aging in reverse for sure.
Yeah, seriously.
On all these investigations for years and years and years that you've done, and I'm sure you've done hundreds of them that you haven't had a camera, like you just go and like your Nick Groff's investigates and your tours and things. Not everything is filmed. You just go for the experience. Have you ever faced something that made you consider taking a step back or reconsider investigating? Like, is something like shaking you to your core?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of locations that really woke me up. I don't think I ever said, I'm never doing this again, or I can't do this, or I can't go in there. I think it was just moments in my life. And it just depends too in personal life, you know? I think a lot of that affected it too, or the people I was around, you know? I remember Linda Vista Hospital, seeing that woman, that inspired me to want to learn more. So that like really pushed me and drove me into the paranormal a little bit deeper. There was other locations that, you know, made me really sick. And I think the things that happened, I had like this high fever and it was like, it really messed me up a little bit, but it's not like I'm never going back in there. I mean, I would go back into any location. I would go anywhere in the world that I had the possibility. And I don't think it's one of those things I don't fear going in and doing it. Like that, the environments sometimes are so brutal, you know, like especially sleeping there or living there. I think that's what was like honestly killing me in a sense. But I think there's not a location I wouldn't go into. I mean, if it's the most haunted, the craziest, whatever, no one wants to go in there. All right, I'll go check it out. As long as I'm not gonna like risk my life, you know, like some mine shaft or something. I'm getting a little old for that. That's the young man's game.
Right. I'm not going to suspend myself with a rope over a gorge or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well,
I would do it, but I don't know.
I did that in my 20s. I did it.
It depends.
Right. So that answered one of my questions already. I was going to ask you, like, if was there a place that you wouldn't go back to, but you're open to anything. Checking it out.
Yeah. Everything and anything. I think as long as, you know, like even, I mean, there's a lot of locations internationally I would love to go to that are just like crazy, but they're like uncharted territories that probably are super dangerous just for like real people killing you. So I probably wouldn't be good. I remember I had this idea. I'll share this idea. It was wild. So on Paranormal Lockdown for a special, we were talking about going to Colombia and rolling deep into like the warfare with the Angela Commandos and get into like Pablo Escobar's like old mansions and stuff like that.
Oh.
And I actually, like my whole crew was like, Rob was like, absolutely not. You're crazy. And I was like, can you imagine like us just rolling with the commandos in the Jeep, and we're all like just bulletproof vests and we're just rolling deep into the jungle just to get to this like ultimate haunted location that nobody can go to. And it's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, you get into that type of territory. It's
sure.
It's a little sensitive.
They'd probably gank half of your equipment too. You're like,
yeah, they probably would take one of us, to be honest with you. Yeah, I know. That's what I've been training all my life for, to go into these situations.
To go commando deep.
Go commando, yeah. Ninja.
Funny.
I always been trained for a ninja.
Now, I had the opportunity with my VidiSpace account, and I really like VidiSpace. It's totally cool. It's a great streaming platform for these filmmakers and artists to put their wonderful films, everything that they've created visually on a streaming platform, and it's well organized and it's really cool. And you brought up Death Walker, your new show, and I gotta admit, I caught half of them, and then I sat down the other night. I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk to Nick. I'm gonna watch another episode that's gone. Oh. And I know with timing and everything, I know you've got plans for Death Walker that you're probably not able to, or you're not ready to say what your plans are for. But I just want to compliment you on Death Walker, and I hope to see more of it, or at least it surface again in another venue. Tell me about how you came up with this approach to Death Walker, because you're going between 2 locations per episode, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. So very soon I'm going to make a huge announcement about Deathwalker, the series. Really exciting news to come, and a lot more things that we're going to be exploring. So just stay tuned. Social media, everything that we're doing, it's going to come. It's going to come to light really soon, and that's the reason why you don't see it there anymore.
Right.
Because I have really big plans that I've been working on for the last couple of months, and now it's becoming a reality. So I'm really excited about it. But Deathwalker, it all started, from Paranormal Lockdown. It was really fascinating. I loved it. I mean, it was like my second baby, like having Paranormal Lockdown was just incredible. But when I wanted to create Deathwalker, it was just another approach. It was like, let's take a step back to the roots of how we got started, but let's evolve as human beings into the subject matter. Let's dissect it into theories. Let's take two locations, let's combine them and see what we can come up with as far as evidence to validate some of these theories. So that's kind of how we got our start into the idea of doing Deathwalker. And again, it's myself, it's my journey into the paranormal and the hauntings to try to put theories to the test, but look at it from my perspective and just tell the stories of the hauntings, the location, the history, and go a little bit deeper than others, So that's kind of how Deathwalker started. And man, it just really evolved into this incredible, incredible series. And now it's growing. The brand is huge. It's growing. We just launched Nick Groff Explorers on Facebook, the major group that we have. If you're not a member of Nick Groff Explorers on Facebook, definitely join the group. We have the nickgroff.com site where we're doing all of our Deathwalker merch and all that stuff as far as Deathwalker goes. And then just everything about Deathwalker today, it's going to be really big here soon. So I'm just excited for the future of that series because I'm doing something different I've never ever done before. And it's not just from the perspective of how the show is or how the investigations are. It's so genuine. It's the most genuine, paranormal driven, I believe personally, reality that we're stripping down to the bare bones, but taking concepts and ideas and theories and putting them to the test. And I just think that that's really what the paranormal needs these days. It needs that element of push. It needs that that drive, that passion to bring it back to the roots. I think it's missing. I think the community is missing it. I think people all over the world that's interested in the subject matter is missing that that hard hitting reality of this is what the theory is or this is what the paranormal topic is, and we're just bringing it back to that forefront. So yeah, exciting news to come up for Deathwalker.
That's really exciting to hear. What I liked about it, it's got high production value. And I know that you studied film in college and you're an accomplished filmmaker. That's how you got your earliest show, Ghost Adventures, from that documentary that you put together and everything. And so what's neat about VidiSpace and you putting together your own shows is that I'm sure talking to other people in the paranormal realm that I have, on the show and off the show, is that there's always the network to deal with. There's always producers and their ideas. And sometimes the creative talent like yourself has to butt heads to get what they want on the show because producers got to, at the end of the day, their name's on it too. They're hired to do a job. The channel has something that they want put on the air because they want to attract advertisers, they want to attract viewers, and that's all fine and good. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I like about your approach now and with VidiSpace is this content is being made by the proactive, creative people that have the ideas, and you've got a way to funnel it right to the people that want to consume that talent, or that all that information, all that entertainment, if you want to call it entertainment, or just all the subject matter, and it's right in the hands of us subscribers that want to see it. And so I think you're getting not so much of a diluted product. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing more content. I'm seeing more thoughtful content. I'm seeing things that's coming straight from your brain through the technology, through the streaming platforms and everything today to bring more thoughtful content to people.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing. When I started Deathwalker, it was my cousin and I, Justin and myself, going off and doing it. We were it. We did everything you see on Deathwalker as far as when we were out there investigating. So just two people inside the location, sometimes just me by myself. And that's the great thing. You would look at Deathwalker thinking that there's a whole crew of people, a whole production team, an audio guy, another camera operators, and production managers, and everything that kind of comes into play on any TV show you see on air. There's a full blown production team.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that there hasn't ever been was when I first did Ghost Adventures back in the day. It was just the three of us in the location. But in the beginning, like the B-roll and all that other stuff, we would have a camera operator shooting B-roll and stuff like that on the outside. And then they would leave, and then it would just three of us go and do the lockdown. Obviously, 10 seasons later, when I left that's changed. There's like a whole production team and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm at now is, even with Paranormal Lockdown, I had a small little team, but they would leave, and it was just my camera operator, Katrina, and that was it. It was just us three in the location. Then Rob would leave, and then it was just us two. And I want to maintain that rawness. I've always had, the one thing I fought really hard for, to be honest with you, from the get-go, was always maintaining the realism and obviously having the control of the production when I'm out there investigating, because, the reputation is extremely important to me, and credibility. And I never wanted that to be tarnished, so I would never fall into the trap of, doing whatever production crews or people or producers or X amount of people wanted you to kind of do into these shows or whatever. So I was just maintaining myself, and I've been offered so many different shows to do, like this show and that show, and, create and produce. And I've turned down so many things. It would be mind blowing. Like some stuff with a lot of money, I don't care. I don't want it. I believe in do what's right, but you have to be passionate in what you believe in, because when it's your time to pass away, lay there, close your eyes and die, all that stuff, all that stuff you've done in your life, you're going to have to face it yourself. So have no regrets. I'm one to say, I don't want any regrets when I pass away on anything. I don't want to sit there and rattle in my head, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I didn't do that. I want to be like, no, I created this, and this is legendary, and it's going to ripple effect, a positive manner for the next generation, for my kids or whoever's after that or whoever's watching. And I want to grow it as a community. I want to grow it as like this small spiritual army that's like, going to boom it in a sense, that's pushing things forward rather than going backwards or being redundant or, just falling into the trap of everything else. And that's why I got lucky with Deathwalker. I was allowed to go off by myself, do it all by myself with my cousin Justin. And we had nobody telling us what to do. There was no notes to come back to a network. It was just us. I figured out a way. I was way ahead of the time on how production is done. And I figured out the way to do it on our own. And we succeeded. And now it's coming to life. And I'm really excited because I just saw it before everything was transitioning and everything was changing, meaning the industry. So trust me, it's going to be changing in the next year or two. Everything's going to be changing dramatically. And you'll see. But I'm a visionary, man. Like it's weird. Intuitively, I just see things, in the scope beyond what's in front of me. And that's just how I daydream. That's how I see things. And I've been doing it for so long that I just see things before it's happening. And I just kind of like go with what I believe in deep down in my core, what is real. And you have to follow your intuition, because if you don't, you're gonna slip through and say, man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have listened to myself. But I don't know. I think that's the most important thing too about the journey in life is you got to listen to yourself. You really have to. I started listening to myself a lot more in this last 2 years, and it's just, I've been better off,
Mm-hmm. I saw inklings of what you're talking about. You were a producer on Ghost Stalkers with Chad Lindbergh and John Tenney. And that was a show that was different than a lot of paranormal shows at the time too. And I saw real thoughtful investigation and a lot of conversations happening on that show about what all this means. And I think with podcasts and video blogs and this content that's available streaming, and where you get the people making the stuff being able to bypass a lot of the producers and the channel and things like that, I'm getting more like I said, an undiluted, real sense of these investigations, and I can tell that there's a search for an answer, not a search for a corporate sponsor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's coming around again. I remember when I first got my start, it was a lot of that. Remember all the forums and stuff back in the day? Like, I remember Sci-Fi had like all these forums, and it was like the hard-hitting ones and stuff. And Taps had their forums, Ghost Hunters, and I know all those guys. They're all really nice guys. And I mean, pretty much I know everyone across the board. And it's really interesting how it used to be the diehard, like, no, this is what it is, on like forums and stuff. Now it's like, I feel like it's turned a lot into kind of like a weird WWE wrestling, it's like, it's just like, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's like pure entertainment sometimes. And I'm just like, what is happening? But I think things are turning around. And I think that content needs to be looked at differently as far as from the production side of things. So everything needs a good story. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as you have a good story to tell and you're keeping it real and you're genuine about what you're doing, but also you 100% believe in what you're presenting. I think those are the key elements with having a successful series, and somebody who obviously is going to present it, who knows what they're talking about. And I think that really is the biggest point of getting something off the ground as far as, something that turns into a show or something like that. But ultimately, I've been lucky enough to stick to my roots and just really go after what I believe. And I had the opportunity to have, all the things that I've done that has continuously allowed me to just go up and keep building it and stuff like that. And I really think it's just about building your life, building that brand, building those blocks of how you want to be remembered,
Awesome. Another way that we can remember and think about Nick Groff is his, I didn't know this until recently, that you have this music that you create.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like a hobby, It's like in my blood. Music has always been in my blood. I just love all genres. I love music, period.
Right.
So when I was a little kid, I remember my buddy Danny Bedrosian, who plays lead keys for George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelics. And all those guys are really cool. I know all those guys. And we had a band at one point. We played at Scarefest way back in the day. It was called, our band was The Other Side, and it was Danny and a bunch of guys from the Parliament Funkadelics. And basically, we put out 2 albums. It was like hip hop. It was collaborative, like spoken words / some funk in there / like really deep, meaningful life situation. It's basically like we're talking right now, but lyrically put together into a CD. So that's kind of what it was. I put out 2 albums, produced another hip hop artist out of Chicago. I've been into hip hop since I was a little kid. Danny and I used to put together tapes in my little basement with DJ equipment and stuff like that way back in the day when we were in high school. We used to play Battle of the Bands together. Somewhere there's a VHS tape of me playing Battle of the Bands when I was singing at it in a rock band. And Danny beat me out. His band beat out our band. I think it's because somebody had a sign that they made in one of those what was that construction class or whatever in high school. Yeah. And the sign hit the principal. So the principal downgraded us in the competition. So we were just like rugged like that. We were just those punk kids that were playing in a band. But Danny went on to play, last, I don't know, 20 years now or so. He's been playing with George Clinton. I mean, one of the longest running bands in history, that tours. And I just put out a couple albums with him. I'm working on a huge album to come in the future. That's going to be really, really deep, meaningful to me. That I'm working on with a producer out of Philly called Messinian, who I'm collaborating with. And then basically, it's just something I love to do. Again, it's passion. It's just one of those things that I wanted to do it. I had the opportunity and I put it out. And regardless, I did it for myself and it was fun. And I think it moved a lot of people in just different thinking. But yeah, it's cool. I like it.
We were talking about, we're into ghosts and then we're into UFOs and we're into Bigfoot and everything. Well, you can get all into that. And then you can also get into, like you said, you were talking a lot about your personal fitness and hitting the gym, and then another creative outlet of music and everything. And I love music's such a great thing that you can kind of leave it for a little bit and come back and hit it in cycles. And it's just how it motivates you and how it inspires you. I mean, I remember being a kid with a 4-track recorder and thinking that I had my own studio back in the day, and I put tapes in there and record my bullshit on on these 4-track tapes and share it with my friends. And then we'd put bands together and we went to the battle of the bands and we won some and you lose some. And then the camaraderie and the brotherhood that you have with being with musicians and everything. Sometimes I watch these paranormal shows and it's almost like being in a band. Everybody's got the band merch and then they go and instead of the tour of music, you're going to a haunted location and that's your show.
Exactly.
That's the concert. We practice with the research and everything, and then we get to the haunted house, and that's the show. It's showtime. Let's get it going. So,
exactly. I love it. Like it's just one of those things. Music is in my blood, and I just love doing it. It's a form of expression. I take what I do very seriously as far as the paranormal, my life, the gym, owning. I owned a gym. I developed the brand and. I had a gym for about 3-4 years and then sold that. It's just certain things I do in life for passion or they're like really meaningful to me. Even producing the CDs, the albums and working and collaborating with certain artists and producing shows too. Like it's just a form of my outlet or it's an interest I have or it's something I really love to do. But I'm such a hyperactive person, I'm an Aries and I have to like hone in on one thing because I used to spread myself too thin. I'd be like, I want to do this. I learned to focus my energy on certain things like Paranormal Lockdown, focus energy. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
Deathwalker. That's what I'm doing. I think that's a really important part too. Focus your energy on like bigger things. And then when the bigger things kind of hit, you like do the things that you like to do, you passionately like to do, like make music or whatever it is that you want to do. But that's life, man. That's life in a nutshell.
Yeah, right. That's what I like about you, man. It's you got these great projects, but you're also thinking like ahead and trying to bring yourself some pleasure out of it too, and enjoying yourself. Because like I said, we only got a finite amount of time here on this blue dot, and then you got to make the best of it. And it seems like it's an exciting time to be Nick Groff.
Yeah, it's really interesting life. I'll tell you that. I mean, every week we do our G Crew show with other guys, and then I do Deathwalker constantly. And man, I do so much. I don't know. I think I look at things where I don't want to slow down. I think life is too short. You never know. It's like Final Destination. You never know when your time is coming, and you can't escape it. So why not give it your all right now, all the time, until that time comes without burning the candle on both ends where you get exhausted or burnt out or sick or something. You have to have a balance. It's super important. That's why every day I'll try to go to the gym, or if I can't go to the gym, I'll do like 100 push-ups or whatever. I'll try to stay healthy. It balances my brain out. It slows me down. And then I'll get back to the grind of whatever it is that I'm trying to succeed in. So I think it's important to take time to yourself to do that so you can level out, everything else you have to do. And it doesn't have to be working out. It can be anything. It could be like watching a movie. I watch movies at night before I go to bed. Just find that thing you like to do, have balance, and then go after bigger things in life. And it doesn't matter what it is. You want to climb a mountain. You want to write a book. You want to be a host on a radio show or a TV show or whatever. Just go after it. And you know what? If it fails, keep trying. And if you believe in it, just keep going for it. And if it doesn't happen someday, then, try something else. Like it's not the end of the world until it's our time to go. So I don't know. I just want to leave an imprint like that. And that's how I've been since a kid,
Mm-hmm.
So it's just exciting. It's an exciting journey. I don't know what the future holds, but all I know is I can pave the way of where I'm going. So
with this last year and everything that the world's gone through, how did that change or how did that alter like your plans? And I'm looking at like a wide kind of scope of an answer. Like you have all these plans and everything. Well, you can't do a lot of them or you can't do some of them. So did you channel what's your mindset in terms of getting taking that creative focus this way and turning it that way?
So the events it stunk for all my Nick Groff tour events, because then I couldn't do any more events with everybody. I thought that stunk and we couldn't come together as people and so on. But the great thing about what happened is I already had everything filmed for Deathwalker. So in the process of, the pandemic hitting, everyone was locked down. I was editing. I was putting all the episodes together. And then I got an amazing distributor. I got a major company. I got people interested in, because what happened is everything slowed down. Nobody had content to film, but I did. So, a lot of people started reaching out and it's hitting. So the thing is you never know. Everything's about timing in the industry. It's about timing when stuff happens, and stuff happens for a reason too. In that specific time, Paranormal Lockdown happened when it happened. I remember when I did Ghost Ventures. I remember when I was pitching that. I made the scissor reel ticket to the Travel Channel and all the other networks. And I remember it was during the SAG. SAG was having a strike, and all the actors and stuff, everyone was on strike. So no TV content was on. So the first question they asked was, "You guys SAG?" I'm like, "I'm just me. I ain't SAG." I don't even know what SAG is back then.
Right.
So
what are you calling me? What are you calling me, brother? What,
yeah. Exactly. So it's just like, it's all about timing when things hit.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to align it at the specific time, but things don't happen like out of coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in hard work. I believe in passion. I believe in drive. And if you want it that bad, and if, blood, sweat, and tears, man, you'll get it. It's just a matter of when it happens. You got to be patient. It might not be that one thing you want, but it could be this other thing. Mm-hmm. It's just, you keep creating, you keep evolving, you keep on growing. And that's kind of how it all kind of plays out. But that's basically with me. That's been the story of my life, to be honest with you. It's just specific times when things hit or things happen, and weird things in the world are revolving at the same time. So it's just kind of been the story of my life.
Yeah. Well, I had to laugh when you were talking about, like, you don't believe in coincidence, because I don't either. Seemingly unrelated things that seem to be related, but we don't know why. So, and when when you've got the goal and you're trying to, end up over here, well, you might have to go over here for a little bit, and it'll somehow, with that hard work and that perseverance, it's going to lead you where you need to go. And you were talking about things being aligned, and I couldn't be more happy and thankful that our schedules were able to be aligned tonight for us to have a conversation and talk about things. And I just got to tell you one more time, I really admire your push and your drive, because a lot of people can put irons in the fire and just make a bunch of crap. But
that is true. Yeah.
But you have enough of the passion in the right place to put something together and put projects together that are very interesting and very compelling. And I can tell that there's so much thought that goes behind your things that you put out. And having you on the program has just been such a highlight of my journey in having conversations and learning from other people. That's why I wanted to have a show where I talk to people, not to show how smart I am or how cool I am, or it has nothing to do with me. I want to have conversations in order for me to learn from other people and to open up ideas and to be able to express myself with somebody and have them express themselves back to me. And we share ideas and construct ideas. And it's having you on the show has just been so much fun, man. I really appreciate a busy guy like you talking to this guy in Omaha. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to get into deep conversations and talk about life. It also settles me down for a second and think about, okay, what have I done? Where's the foundation laid? Okay, what am I going to do next? So it's cool. It gets my mind working and off of whatever I was doing. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And everybody, it's been my absolute pleasure to have Nick Groff on the program, a guy who I've been watching his career for years. He's been in my living room through my television set, and having him, face to face through Zoom and having this conversation has been a real treat. I hope it's been a treat for everybody out there listening. So, Nick, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of the Necronomicast. There it is, everybody. I hope you enjoyed episode number 200 with Nick Groff. And thank you for listening. I don't know how long you've been listening to the Necronomicast, but this show's been around for 10 years. Started by Wayne Brecky and Tim Welch. There's been a multitude of horror hosts through the years, including Lori and Zip and Doug and myself. I joined the show 7 years ago on episode 83. And it's been a wild, crazy journey. So thanks for taking this journey with all of us from the beginning. Thanks for taking the journey with me now, and keep listening in the future. Who knows who the next host of the Necronomicast is, or will be. Hundreds of episodes from now. All right, so episode 201. Dr. Maria Mayer from Expedition Bigfoot on Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. She'll be the next guest, and we're going to talk about the scientific side of Bigfoot. None of this crazy mumbo-jumbo about aliens and ghosts of Neanderthals, although I'll try and slip it in a little bit once in a while. But yeah, Dr. Maria Mayer, episode 201. This has been copyright 2021. All rights reserved. 200 episodes. Good Lord. Get some sleep.